Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this edition of MedTalk. Today, our guest, Charlie Auvermann. Charlie is the Executive Director for the Development Authority of Dawson County. Charlie, welcome to MedTalk.
Thanks very much, Frank. It's great to be here.
One of the things that is slowly evolving, I kind of use the term with a little bit of risk because things are happening so fast, it really isn't all that slow anymore, and that's the development that's happening, booming development that's happening throughout the rural areas of Georgia. Let's talk a little bit about Dawson County specifically, but in a broader way. What's going on in that northwest Georgia region?
Well, really, the most interesting thing that's been going on is the explosive growth of the healthcare industry in this part of rural Georgia, and I'm sure much of Georgia, actually, that there's just been this explosive growth in business, the development of clinics and imaging centers, and also, of course, hiring people to fill those centers. It's been quite amazing in our particular area and in the counties around us. It has been just a real phenomenon to see what's been going on here lately.
Well, I think that one of the areas that Beyond Connections is all about, and I think that may be something we want to kind of drift into. I know the impact of the rapid expansion of the medical industry and the healthcare services industry is not only an economic reflection of existing citizens, but it also plays a role in the infrastructure that's necessary to eventually continue to grow and expand. Beyond Connections, let's talk a little bit about what the vision is and why. What's the reason for this portal?
Well, Beyond Connections, of course, is an attempt to try to get more information out about the technical aspects, the high-tech industry, the IT aspects of North Georgia, and that North Georgia isn't just a rural area anymore, and also create some vertical content so that businesses, and in the case of what we're talking about here, it would be like doctors groups, medical groups, hospital systems, can communicate with each other and find out about what's going on, provide a go-to portal, if you will, to see what sort of events are happening, what sort of seminars, trainings. Really, there's a lot of possibilities, and Beyond Connections is attempting to capture that to help enhance rural development and economic development, business development in our region.
Well, if you're joining us today, you've probably joining us today on MedTalk, you probably have experienced Beyond Connections, the actual virtual event that was held recently on healthcare in rural Georgia, the innovations that are happening in healthcare in rural Georgia. And I think that one of the things that we're seeing is that there's a need for collaboration, a need for best practice communication, a need for to share ideas and to foster new concepts because so many people are working, I wouldn't say silos, because I think there's a lot of idea sharing and a lot of collaboration that's already going on with a lot of the private sector and public sector agencies that are involved in the health industry. But certainly more can be done, and something like a unified communications platform, a digital distribution system that allows for one central repository of all of that information, all of that archiving of events and activities, and these live events. Talk a little bit about the concept behind a virtual event and this healthcare situation as far as it related to the recent Beyond Connections virtual event that happened just recently. Again, I'm stumbling around here because we could be ahead of or behind the event. So if you're listening to us today, you again probably have learned about this portal and the idea of the URL Beyond Connections by way of that particular virtual event. So you know the event itself, but maybe go into a little bit of the concept behind it.
Sure. What we decided to do was, and you're correct in this, that if you look at all the different hospital, healthcare systems, clinics, websites, they have information on their individual site, but there's very little carryover between them. And yet, as you heard from the panelist, there's a lot of effort to electronically start sharing information and start communicating. What Beyond Connections medical portal does here is help facilitate that not on a patient level, but on a business level, doctors, groups, and interested parties, individuals that either want to learn from that or be involved in that. So it's not something that's being looked at like a healthcare information system for patients or for confidential private records. It's nothing like that at all. It's all the business-to-business aspects of it, because with these connectivities at the electronic level, at the communications level for patients, they start recognizing, as you see from the panel discussions, the synergies and the opportunities that they all have, even though they're separate entities. And I think that's what we're trying to help facilitate here, help get everybody in a place where you can just go one click and get to all sorts of information about the industry, not necessarily just a specific business or hospital or medical group system.
And that is the key differentiator as far as Beyond Connections MedTech, and the portal is designed not physician to patient, but rather business to business, private to public, administrator to administrator, and talking about the industry and the makeup of the challenges that are dealing with technology. A lot of our listeners are probably aware that Georgia is the nation's health IT capital, and because of that, we need to have the kind of communication that a Beyond Connections portal provides so that we're not operating independent of each other, trying to figure out how to communicate. And the great part about it is I think the two edges of the concept that has evolved are really brilliant, and that is on one side, you've got the ongoing, constant presence of the portal itself, beyondconnections.com, that's always there, 24/7. It's being updated by RSS feeds almost on a regular basis, certainly by the hour in some cases, and by the day in some cases, by the week, with hard news and information as it relates to the B2B space, as it relates to the private and the public sector, again, administrator to organizations of one kind or another that are dealing with either technological evolution or technology equipment or healthcare services, even staffing and the issues of staffing problems and those kind of things. So, and those discussions are coming into the site on a national basis or even an international basis by combining the local information, the local evolution of events and activities and developments, combined with a national perspective that comes from these other national feeds. So again, if we're going to be the health capital, the health IT capital of the world, wouldn't it be great to reflect that to the rest of the world, not only in the performance of our individual accomplishments, which are great. Again, Georgia health IT companies produce more than $4 billion in annual revenue, and that's just the IT sector of it. That's got nothing to do with all of the other components and elements that are involved in this quote-unquote industry. All of that is archived in a single location that we can use to collaborate and share from, but yet also we can project outside of the area to reflect to other people who can see us for what we are, that capital. The second part of it is a real-time collaborative live virtual summit-type communication platform that is this virtual event that we've concocted with the Beyond Borders with the first in the series that just occurred. This is a situation where somewhat complementary, but definitely unlike the portal, you've got a platform for real-time communication. Distance, remote subject matter experts scattered around the state of Georgia from different disciplines, from different perspectives, being able to come together by way of digital distribution and digital infrastructure, live webcams, live chats, live streaming video. I think it's a case where that allows for real-time communication, infrequently, but in a way that really is, I think, truly unique. And then that information becomes additional content for the Beyond Connections portal that is allowing for other types of information like individual conferences or events that are happening on a localized basis. Talk a little bit about the concept of expanding the participation from Dawson to other cities and other counties.
Well, everything is really regionally driven, I think. I mean, obviously, if you look at just in Dawson County, in the last 4 or 5 months, We've had the Northside Hospital System, which comes up from Atlanta and Forsyth County, and we've had the very impressive Northeast Georgia Medical System that's in Gainesville that has won so many awards for their operations, opening a very large urgent care facility here and imaging facility here. The employee base there has doubled just in less than a year. All of these, however, are regional systems. Several of the other entities that are looking at Dawson County, because it's now sort of become a crossroads for medical clinics and urgent care facilities for much of the rural area up in here, all come, as a base from other parts of the state. If you look at the Ty Cobb Hospital, it's just been opened in East Georgia. It's the same type of thing. It was a collaboration of several counties that got that hospital built. The things that we look at are all in a regional context. We have people that come here from Lumpkin County, from Pickens County, from Hall County, that instead of going into Gainesville, it's easier for them to come over to us. So this was just a natural extension, number one, of the topic. Our first Beyond Connections medical panel had far more to discuss than we had time. So there's going to be a series of these that go on where we can get down to far more detailed information. And just that, I think, shows the validity of a regional context here, because we had people on that panel from all over the state that were literally traveling at the time that this was going on. The entire concept behind rural health care, behind telemedicine, is that it doesn't recognize county lines or city limits or these sorts of artificial borders, if you will. It basically goes and finds the patients, it goes and finds the medical facilities, and it goes and finds the doctors that are needed to address whatever the patient's issues are. And so you lose these borders, and Beyond Connections then is just a natural extension of that. You get on Beyond Connections, you go to the portal, you can find information that is of international interest or discoveries that help you on in an international sense, a national sense. Yet at the same time, there's information there that directly affects you, the family physician, in your town in North Georgia, and it's just a natural extension of all of that.
And I think, again, if your description, I think, is spot on as far as there are no borders anymore. Obviously, the technology is driving telemedicine and the idea of digital applications that are going to be complementing health and health monitoring and maintenance, and even performance agents that will allow you to not only operate the larger institutions, and even in some cases the actual surgical operations of a hospital, but down to the very individual still at home working with a smartphone, being able to monitor heart and other conditions from a remote area back into the hospital. If that kind of technology is going to be used patient to doctor or doctor to patient, then certainly it ought to be from thought leader to thought leader, from professional to professional. And again, that's what Beyond Connections is all about. I'm going to assume that one of the things we're going to want to do today is to tell people that this is a new idea, it's a new concept. The term beta is often used to describe some of these things that are early in the innovative stage. We're looking to collaborate. We're looking for people to critique. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your suggestions. Equally as important, we'd like you to help to get this known to more people. Send the information to your contacts. Virally let people know not only about the portal, but we'll be launching on the on-demand actual Beyond Connections event, the medical event that occurred for on-demand play, when that comes out, to let other people know about it. And then, of course, to be able to work with us in helping to develop some of the other vertical geographic locations that we talked about. We'd love to see more of Northwest Georgia participate, but equally so, we'd like to see the South, the East, the West, certainly Augusta, Savannah, so many other areas that are almost a challenge to describe as rural because they're individual metro centers and metro complexes with large populations and highly sophisticated medical environments, and yet they're part of the discussion. So I'm going to say that for today and for our first edition of MedTalk, we've probably covered a lot of bases. The idea is to stimulate just that, ideas. We want to hear from you. So the way to communicate with us is on the website. You can either communicate by way of information to the site itself or to Charlie or to myself, Frank Baia. We'll have our information up online. It's an evolving process that we'd like you to be part of. Charlie, is there anything else you'd like to add before we close?
Well, I just want to say that again, we appreciate everybody providing their input, looking into this, providing information to it, but recognize that this is going to be an expanding opportunity for a lot of people. That if you look at the growth in the healthcare industry in Georgia, we're looking at 150,000 jobs over the next decade, about a 38% increase in the healthcare industry. This is not a subject that is going to be one time only. There's going to be a lot of content here and a lot of valuable information for people, and you have an opportunity right now to help put that in there, to seed this. Okay, if it's a beta version, that's fine. I don't dislike that idea, but it allows you to participate with us, putting the things in there that you would like to know, that you would like to see and learn about, and things that you think other people need to know. And that's really the beauty of the system, that it's for everybody that's in the industry. It helps Dawson County with our aspects of it, but basically it helps all of rural Georgia, and I think that's a really great thing.
And the bottom line, healthcare innovations in rural Georgia, that was a subject that we covered earlier, is going to be available on demand for on-demand viewing. The concept of MedTalk will evolve ideally into a weekly show, possibly even a daily one. We invite anyone that thinks that there's a guest or a thought leader that we should kind of have an opportunity to discuss this subject with in more depth as far as it relates to their particular vertical or their particular discipline. We certainly would invite that. Charlie, I'm going to say that once again, it's our inaugural broadcast or podcast of MedTalk. Here's to many more, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Great idea, great concept. It's in full play now. It's all out into the ecosystem, if you will. Let's all join on board and make it an even better success than it's been. Charlie, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. It's been very exciting. Thanks a lot.